upcoming, so we'll especially say the Lord's Prayer with Gary in mind, but everybody else as well. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. All right, this is going to be a wild one. So David Mills has been putting out just tremendous shock and awe series for about the last week. Theory is certainly happy about it. His opponent's not so happy. His opponents wish that David would pump the brakes, but everybody else is happy. No, we've got great stuff. We had a terrific Annihilation report last week on the show from Michael. This week we're going to get some terrific Annihilation reporting in from Theory. Theory raced all the way up to number 13 in the world, so it's going to be really, really fun. Attaboy, Theory. We're all extremely proud and happy and glad we were able to do that. So this is going to be a tremendous show today. I also told Bryn that I would do an explanation as to the types of decks that I tend to shape things around for my part with things. So I'll try to explain that. I was actually talking to Dave Williams last night, and he was the reason for the shift that I made a while back. And it's not set in stone. For example, at the actual live event, I myself played kind of a keeperish, control-ish, somewhat-ish, blue-white deck from Shay, who's great, developed that deck. And so I'm willing to do it, but particularly for Dave, when he was doing pro tournaments and he was also playing poker and doing other things, then he didn't really have full time to devote to it, and playing control was never his favorite. So he really wanted to play more aggressive decks, so I would really focus on that. It turns out to work pretty well for the arena algorithm the way it is, especially that you can jump in. I mean, I myself, for me, the single game ranked games in standard were a total revelation for me, just with the conditions of my life, because otherwise I could never crack any sort of a ranking ever, because I just don't have long stretches of time to play. But even nowadays, even without long stretches of time, a couple times in the last year, I hit the top 50. So but it's very competitive. Anybody who's played it can know it's not that there's chumps on there. It's very, very difficult. In many ways, I mean, you just simply have to win such a high percentage. Like, your game win percentage doesn't have to be that high when you're playing 2 out of 3, because if you just win, I'm not going to go into a whole math explanation on it. It would sort of drown out the show. But anyways, so just particularly with the arena environment and with as competitive as it is, that you can just play fast games, and then beatdown is going to be like a little bit more fun. And I also think that in this environment, you tend to want to get things over with. There's so many decks out there that I think Gary was telling me about one match where somebody had played some crazy. It was something where all the creatures get haste, and then they cast some crazy creature. I don't remember what it was. We don't have to particularly get things bogged down, but there's a lot of ways to skin a cat right now in Magic, and so I tend to like to get the game over with. So that's the reason we tend towards more aggressive decks. Okay, so we've got today, and we have some more joining. We have Smitty, which is always my favorite, and that makes me super excited. Also, Dan Burdick is on today. For those of you that don't know, Dan was essentially in charge of quality control for Wizards of the Coast for R&D for Magic the Gathering. He did a lot to guide the current game to where it is in mostly a healthy place. Of course, there's some times when things are kind of wacky and a little bit out of control. We'll have a banning on the 10th, so we'll see how WotC handles that. But anyways, having Dan on the show is an honor. Dan is the inventor of 5-color green, one of the great Magic decks of all time, and it really got people thinking very differently about the game and how it's played. He was one of the driving forces behind a really, really creative team with Brian Weissman and some other great players, some other great Magic players on it. And there was a lot of winning went on. So we had a lot of concurrence, and then Dan himself went on to be one of the most influential people at WotC. Now he actually played tests with us, so that's a great honor. He himself did some testing this weekend. We'll be really excited to hear his thoughts on the whole kind of bunny bazooka paradigm. I know he went in with Gear Hulk, so I'll pull that up and I'll share that as well. So that'll work in perfectly with Theory's design here. I did a full segment at the beginning of the last week's show on law of implication and on David's new series. And it was, I think, extremely valuable. David came out with 2 really cutting, insightful, brand new videos that really simplify things. That they're so welcome. It's great to me. I have the first, the kind of the cornerstone slide pulled up in front of me right now. I'm going to just talk about this for a couple minutes to pre-frame things, and then we'll get into talking with Dan and with Theory this week, and with Smitty, of course. Always really, really get excited when Smitty's involved. All right, so the shift is, all right, so David's talking about a paradigm shift where if you can do this, you can think straight, and if you can't do this, you can't think straight. And it's not because you're not thinking fast enough, it's not because you're not smart enough or anything like that, it's because you're looking in the wrong place. For example, if you had some keys and they were lost, and somebody could come in and they could have infrared equipment and all kinds of searching abilities. They could have metal detectors and all kinds of things. But if they were searching in the wrong room, then it's all for naught, right? In the same way, we want to be searching in the right room. That's something that David used to explain law of implication to me a long time ago. That very phrase, like 30 years ago, he explained that to me, and it's never left me. So this shift, I'm gonna read it out loud, and really, in a certain way, the entire culture of the Magic Secret Show just revolves around this idea, but this clarifies it so well. We already do it. So, and by the way, it is not oppressive. I was thinking about it earlier today. People think, like, is it oppressive to think, with these certain types of boundaries that we're very clear on? Does it make it unfun? When we're in our WhatsApp group, am I always like, hey guys, you guys need to be law of implicationing more, or something? I don't. It's joyous, it's fun, everyone's having, I believe, a 10 out of 10 good time, but it's very scientific. It's always very gameful. I mean, there's some jokes and stuff like that, but outside of that, and the jokes, of course, are all just very funny and usually kind of prove a point anyways. But it all revolves around a certain mental shift. If you've been around David long enough, you're probably have some sense of this, but even if it's brand new to you, it can just work for you right away. It can just jump off the page, and it can just change everything for you. And it's a great thing to have culturally. This type of thing, it's something that made Tongo Nation so successful when I was playing Magic, where David was a champion, I was a champion. We had so much success on our team and so forth, despite real adverse conditions, real adverse things we were running into. And then we did a very successful store, and then we built, a giant $100 million in success business from that in the internet marketing world, with nothing but extraordinary success. People like Bob Proctor calling from rooftops out about us. Okay, so the shift is we need to understand to think with and about mental objects rather than with and about reality that actually doesn't exist in the way that we think it does and cannot be known and thought about directly. Look, this would be much more difficult to explain on a different show. If we were on a relationship show right now, if we were on a sports show, actually I was thinking about it, on an NFL show, I could explain this because I could say, hey, right, you kind of get at some point, there's someone on the sideline who's calling in the plays, right? Like in the main, there have been a few rare circumstances where a quarterback would particularly call a lot of his plays. Maybe Peyton Manning at some point got to the point where it was a lot, but outside of that, even Tom Brady was getting plays called into him from somebody saying, "Hey man, run the ball. Let's run a XZ cross, Omaha, whatever," right? And so the game is first occurring in these plays that are called and these schemes, and how those plays and schemes, the game of football, how those plays and schemes, however well the players remember them and execute them and so on, is a certain level of the game. And if you were to ignore that, you would be absurd in the world of football. You would, like, if you imagine someone who came in the NFL, I've got a new plan, no more plays. F these plays are stupid, right? Defensive strategies are stupid. We're not doing any of that stuff. We're just going to play football. I mean, that might sound great for about 2 seconds until you lose 100-0, right? Like, while the other team, like, if you just had 11 just disorganized, and why would it even be 11 at that point? Like, how would you even know which 11 at that point? Because you're just playing football, right? It would just be guys wandering off. How big is your team? I don't know. We're just playing football. Okay, coach. We hear you, right? So it's an absurdity. It would just be completely clownish. And yet, in so many other aspects of life, and of course in so many other aspects of football even, that same rule gets broken again and again. So like there's a general understanding in football, that there's like a strategy, there's ideas that underlie the brilliant sacks and the interceptions and the touchdowns and the sneak plays and everything, from every punt to every play. It's some nonsense without it. Magic the Gathering is the same way. You would never go in with just whatever cards and just play, just a 700 card deck, 1,000 card deck, no sense for any meshing of the cards in any way. Like, it wouldn't be fun in any way. It wouldn't be fun for anybody. Like it would be, you'd be a boring person in a group game. It would just be nonsense. You would just be drawing one senseless card after another without the ability to cast any of them anyways. One sec. There's just a little bit of background noise for 1 sec. All right, irregardless. So 1 sec. There's a window washer that was scheduled. I didn't realize that. That's fine. Okay, so anyways, so you have this situation where it's just entirely dead obvious, like in football, that you don't just go out there and do stuff. Like, there might really be somebody who's so freaking good at basketball that they could almost just run up and down the court. It's a 5-on-5 game. I don't know. I'm not good enough at basketball to know where the strategy of it, but in football, no way. There's just no way. So things have to be organized, and there has to be precepts behind it, and everyone has to buy into it. You can't just rebel against it. It's just a total, complete absurdity. It's clown stuff. In the same way, magic is like that. Now, at a certain level, we all kind of understand that. Okay, and it's one of the things that makes gamers beautiful, and it's one of the reasons that David and I love talking to gamers kind of first in a certain way. We want to kind of reach out to gamers first and talk to gamers first in a certain way. It's not a prejudice against anybody else. We're really inviting everyone to be gamers. I've seen dogs play. Most beings that are of the nature that we are like playing. It's fun at some level, and some type of play. Okay. And when you can learn so much from it, it can be really exciting. And so the whole thing in Magic that David and I encountered right away were people that would be steeped in mythology, what I think of and what I call mythology. And that mythology would restrict them. There would be some smart things. It would always be based on some smart things, I gotta say. Brian Weissman was not gonna come and say something that was entirely stupid. It was just never gonna happen. But it could be situationally unworkable, okay? I remember one time after one of his teammates got obliterated by one of our teammates at a really big Type 1 tournament. and they just thought that you just had to cast a certain spell at a certain time, and you just, if you were going to do that against our deck, you were going to lose. You were going to get amnesia. You were going to get a big hole in your head. It just wasn't going to happen. And so, anyways, they could kind of reach the wrong conclusions once again, kind of by being in the wrong room. And the problem is that these superstitions tended to be self-protecting, even with the smartest of people. And I've got to tell you guys and gals, the people we're competing with then and even now are very, very sharp cookies in the main by way of comparison. Much more curious than your average person, much more problem solving than your average person, much less intimidated by a lot of the barriers that people face these days than your average person, like much, much more. Hedge fund managers and so forth. And yet we would, in certain ways, run circles around these guys, really, really got ahead of them. And so how we did it was a dogged commitment to this idea that David's saying here, that we need to understand and think with and about mental objects. As much as we can, we want to create rules for magic where we can. And there will be times, many a times, when we'll run out of science and we will not be able, all the time I'm trying to cobble together more and more science about this new blue-green deck that we have a breakthrough on and so forth. I want to know. I don't know, how are dinosaurs going? Went okay for me, but not that great, promising, but I don't think right for the metagame, but who knows? Maybe much better, or maybe there's another deck that came out that they're really good against, or a way to play them, or whatever. Murphy, we can talk about it, and we will talk about it. But the main idea, and we talked so strongly last week about these substitutions and how they work. Again, we're referring to that same idea, but in a way that's kind of simplified, clear, chunked down in a way that I think is really actionable. And we'll kind of call back to this again and again. When you see us working on these decks, working on an annihilation report like I'm about to be with Theory and with Dan, both of them race to the top of the rankings in the arena world with different variants of blue-green, strongly different variants. And I want to know the science from them. I want to know what they ran into. I want to hear how they enjoyed themselves, of course, as well. It's a really joyous situation. So that's the setup for things. Let me pull things in. First of all, Dan, we don't always have you on the show. Whenever we do, it's such a big honor. How you doing, man? Might have caught Dan off guard.
Hey, yeah, doing well, thanks. Really happy to be here. Thanks for the kind words earlier. And,
awesome. Congrats this week on all your success. You got in the top 500s or so, or maybe even better with Arena. And of course, so much of what's in the decks I've been sharing is based on concepts and heuristics that you, me, and Smitty have been putting together through various phases of these different sets coming out. For example, we were using I think he's called a Sataniel Sentinel. He was an elf that you could tap either an elf or another creature or an artifact to get mana. Now we're back using a very similar card.
Even better. Yeah.
Better in a lot of ways, right? You can tap enchantments with them, two toughness and so forth. So a lot of the precepts that we worked together on, of course, when I jumped into Merfolk, that really was stamped with you all over it. So really cool. Well, Dan, since we don't often have you on the phone, Theory, of course, shot all the way up to number 13. So we're really, really excited for Theory. Theory, by the way, has been away from Magic the Gathering. I was trying to calculate this. You've been away from Magic the Gathering for about 2 years. Is that right? And then you picked up
maybe longer, yeah. Maybe 3 years.
Longer,
yeah.
2+ years. And then in 1 month with our group here, you come in with a totally raw original deck that is not normally played, a rogue deck, and shoot all the way up to the very top of the rankings. That is really cool. Congratulations. So Dan, what's your experience with, let me pull up Arena, and I'll pull up, you shot this over to me, so I've got it available here. And we have a number of decks from you that we could look at here, but let's see which one I should pull up here. Which one of these should I pull up, Dan?
Let's see, what was the
is it UG Theory? Where's the Gearhulk version?
Let's see, I'm on phone at the moment, so I'll have to see.
Yeah, if you pull it up, it's gonna knock me off. Let me
Yep.
take a look here. Let me pull this up and see.
I think
Because
it
I
might.
think, oh,
I
this
think
has
it
white
might
in it.
vary like 2. So,
All right, so here. Oh, wow. So Dan, you were playing with main deck Leviathans. I didn't catch that. Can you talk to us? I really want to know the science about this.
yeah. So went through a lot of variations here, and I started to realize that any games that go wide, including often against VV Cauldron, even if they're starting to go off with VV Cauldron, a board reset with Leviathan can really put you in an incredible position, and it doesn't bounce your Cenote Scouts, which is surprisingly relevant because you're kind of doing the upheaval Psychotog, kill them next turn type of thing, and can be copied with Mockingbird. So pretty great target for Mockingbird. I tested one main, one Leviathan main, and then just kept going up.
Well, and I have been doing extremely well with a Merfolk version of this deck, where I was postulating the Leviathan for the sideboard. With this, you're just coming straight in, and so you were winning games. Like, what was the science? What were the matchups, and how was it going?
Yeah, so a lot of it, I played against, all different types of things, and I think, an interesting observation is that a lot of people have talked about blue-black mid-range as being potentially dominant or oppressive after VV Cauldron gets banned, because it was one of the more successful decks before, and it's still putting up numbers. But in my opinion, blue-black mid-range is the exact type of thing we don't want to do. By contrast, I think that getting underneath everyone and not just trying to play a 1/1 flying pirate and then put some pressure on, and but do incredibly bad if you fall behind in the mana race. Blue black is full of very strong cards, but something I've always believed in is really getting underneath everyone as much as you can, not necessarily with aggression, but with, for example, mana curve. So this deck, in its current incarnation, has literally 12 one-cost ramp spells, plus Mockingbirds to copy them. So there's an opportunity to just go incredibly wide, incredibly quickly.
So the ramp spells, all right, just so everybody knows, I'll go through this. We've got Llanowar Elves right here. We've got our Gene Pollinators, which together with any other permanent are going to produce a mana, so that's a mana ramp. Then we've got Insidious Fungus, which is also going to double as artifact and enchantment kill. So you can sacrifice them for 2 mana, draw a card, and then if you have a land in your hand, you can play it. And then we have Mockingbird's, another one of Dan's real favorites. Dan, please continue. This is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things that provides, first of all, occasionally, if anyone's played a deck like this or played Cenote Scout, occasionally you get a Cenote Scout draw that it's surprisingly good to copy with Mockingbird, where next thing you know, they're at 12 on turn 3, and you're just really beating them down, right?
Right, and they might be taking some damage from some shock lands, their multiversal passage as well, that they think is, they think it's blue-green, maybe it's not so bad. You're making it bad.
Right, absolutely, and Mockingbird flying is relevant to that as well. Yeah, so even for a time I was testing the Cactusaur 3/3 guy just to see, just how fast can we do this. But going so low like this with ramp/utility creatures, you've got a little bit of that weenie thing going on, but you're also raping and kind of changing your fundamental turn. So, breaking serve if you're on the draw, to potentially get up to parity, with more cards, in terms of tempo, and as well as, as long as they're not literally combing you out on turn 4, for example, being on the play with a deck that can accelerate and go wide this quickly, can kind of blank some of the powerful things that your opponents are doing. And then one of the things that having so much ramp allows for is cards like Gear Hulk and what's the name of the other green dude there?
Ouroboros.
Ouroboros, right. So Ouroboros is a preposterously powerful magic card. It's an anthem that gets completely out of hand completely quickly. And but it suffers from the drawback of being a 4-drop that you have to have other creatures with. It can just be kind of slow. Wizards has done a good job of making some really cool.
It's also very killable for a four cost creature. On the initial turn that it comes in, red decks all have not necessarily all, but most have maybe Helix, definitely Lightning, and so on. Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. But so it's still, a little feast or famine. But cards like that, casual players love. Everyone loves a card like that just takes over the game and does incredible stuff. But they're often not viable because people are just playing them as part of a normal back and forth curve. But what having a deck that goes under so quickly, particularly with mana acceleration, does is allows for Ouroboros to just mindlessly win a game.
Yeah.
Even though you're playing against someone who might be like.
Times when he hits on turn 3,
right,
it really is unmanageable at that point.
It's just wrath or no.
Tap out, so that they usually can't stop the first surge in this particular deck. Now this is what Dan's playing is wildly different, and it's evolved to something wildly different. It started very, very similar to what Theory got to number 13 with, but we're not seeing the legend guy that copies people. Dan's not playing the tempo merfolk, the drowners. He's just, and which is interesting. Of course, they'd be probably in your sideboard, right? Do you have drowners in your sideboard?
I don't, but yeah, that might be good. I would
think just since you have the Leviathans.
Yeah. So the notion, like the science, as you asked here, is to think in terms of how many 1-drops can we play, not that that's like specific.
Relevant ones. I mean, I got to tell you, Smitty and I have gone. We went back and forth so much about the Otter talent, whatever it's called.
Storm Chaser's talent.
Yeah, Storm Chaser's talent versus Silent Hall Creeper, and it's tough because Silent Hall Creeper obviously so much more powerful than just the token that you get from the prowess token, but the mana cost is so much lower. Anyways, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, and I think that Creeper is a really fantastic example of something that and I know Smitty loves that card, and for good reason. It's an extremely powerful magic card. It's like a 2-cost 3/3 that can't be blocked and draws you cards. Like amazing, right?
But like own something.
Right. Yeah, like it does so much. But something that I think is a pretty advanced theory that even top pros, I think, in the game historically and up to today, don't do is sometimes think, okay, is that fast enough? Like what are the actual things going on?
Yeah, when we look at the conceptual basis that kind of the brain trust that kind of it has led to this particular iteration of Magic Secrets has been particularly me and Smitty going back and forth with Dan. And I would say all the time, we're never thinking what's the more powerful thing we can do. We're thinking how can we do the powerful thing faster, and just banging away at that idea and banging away. With Smitty, I think Smitty will bring in the more how can this be simpler, which is one way of being faster, by the way, and a lot of people ignore it. But it's still
right. If you get mired up in complexity in your deck list and it's not doing the thing, whereas Smitty,
which always hurts you and I, because if Dan and I could play 7 colors, we would.
Right. Speaking of, I think you can probably like that new 1/2 that you can tap anything for, that's
Yeah.
quite the color fixer. Because
Yeah,
it turns any of your lands into a filter as well.
he turns any of your.
Yeah,
Oh my
untap
God, I
permanent.
didn't realize you could tap an untapped land.
Yeah.
That's
It's
insane. I
Yeah,
didn't
this
read
is
that too. I was
basically
always
5
thinking
color
it's a creature. I was always thinking it was
I
a
was
creature.
using the enchantment to tap it, the Merfolk enchantment to tap it, and I was going to message the group about it.
Yeah.
That's a really good point, Dan. Great point.
Yeah, it's funny. This deck has a little bit in common with 5 color green, in
Yeah.
that it's got a lot of it. It's got birds and elves, and the ability to accelerate very quickly into a powerful 4-drop. In 5 color green, we were playing Morrow, and here there's Ouroboros, but the card that I think is extremely underrated and kind of like symbolic of some of the things that you want to try to unlock by trying to go faster is the Gear Hulk. The rate on this is just completely through the roof, right? I think from a design standpoint,
saying is the rate. You mean the win rate? Like in practice, when you cast this guy, you win.
Oh yes, I also meant the power level of the card, but yes, also that's a really great way of framing it, Mike. Like when you are allowed to actually do this, like you can.
I got that one from David Mills, and
Love it.
Just this idea of just ultimately speaking, when you because there are cards that look spectacular and you
Right.
cast it and you still lose, and people
Right.
will get drawn to those cards. They really will. Deck designers will get captivated. Oh, it's doing so much while
Right.
I'm losing. So
yeah, that's a great point. Like, what's the actual war of this when you actually get to do it? Like,
right,
what's
Smitty.
the wins above replacement?
Oh, I was just going to say there's been a number of times when somebody threw Valgavoth out there and I was still able to win, even sacking like 3 permanents to it.
Right.
And it's supposed to be, you're just supposed to scoop when that comes into play.
Right. But it's turn 4
and especially the other one, the other guy that comes into play. There's another one that he comes into play and he brings somebody else out. I beat that guy all the time. Anyways, and I've lost to him too. We're not claiming that we haven't lost to Bagvaloth. Of course we've lost to Bagvaloth. The problem is we've beaten Bagvaloth way more than we should have. And that's what Smitty's saying, and that's what Dan's saying.
Atali is the other guy that's like that. Atali, the big dinosaur.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Both of you put stuff in play, you can still beat him.
Oh yeah. Especially when he doesn't kill you the same turn he comes into play. Every once in a while he can come down and they can have some kind of haste thing or something like that with some other stuff. But I agree with that. Okay, Dan. So you're saying about that in practice when you're casting bright glass Gear Hulk, which you obviously also have sideboard cards like one of Gary's favorite cards is Authority of the Consults. He absolutely loves that in the back and forth. You've got Mind Spring in here to draw some cards in your sideboard. You've got another Unable to Scream. Obviously, we can see that you love that card because you have 3 of them in the main, a 4th in the sideboard. You've got your Lantern, and with a Gear Hulk, you can always grab a Gear Hulk and a Mockingbird, and that Mockingbird can always copy the Gear Hulk and get you 2 more guys.
Soul Guide Lantern is pretty sexy.
Yeah, that's a nice little add to the format with everything going on with Reanimator and stuff. I like that.
Awesome, Dan. Really terrific. Terrific use with the Leviathan. What were some of the decks that you felt like you were at an advantage against, and what were some of the decks that you struggled with? Might have lost Dan's feed. Oh, I think we did lose Dan's feed.
I will say this though, Mike. What you were talking about with the football, and then like how we move it into Magic. It's like they're thinking that like so for instance, I compare it to almost Mike Tyson's Punch Out. When you're reading your opponent's moves and stuff, you're like going in with a low. They think you're going in with like a low jab, but you're actually going in with instead of a left low jab, you're going with a far like a high right, and then you just get the stars and stuff. And like like this deck, like what Dan was saying earlier, it's like unless they're like, okay, we got Dan back, but unless they know what you're doing, like they might not even know what you're doing. You know, you're like a Glass Joe. You're like, what is going on? And then here comes Dan, Leviathan, and then the Merfolks are
Yeah.
just staying on the field, and then they're just like, oh, okay, you know, like he says, resetting the board. But
Yeah.
welcome back, Dan.
Yeah, well,
I know-
resetting the board plus, you know, the 6/6, and then he's going to draw a couple of cards off of it and so on. So Dan, what were the matchups like? What were the strong matchups and what were the weak matchups?
Let's see. So control was one of the more challenging matchups. You know, as Mike, as you know, I iterate a ton. Sometimes keep the previous list and sometimes not. So there's been versions of this that had a lot of main deck counterspells.
Okay.
So going for kind of like an aggro control.
What kind of counters were you using? Like 3 steps ahead, or what were you using?
I was using the blue white.
Your no more lies that you have in the sideboard. Okay, great. And that's tempo
Right.
too.
Yes.
The card's so good right now with Vivi.
Yeah, because doesn't it also exile it as well?
Yeah, absolutely did that my very first match against Vivi. And I was like, oh, that seems bad for them. Vivi matchup was actually quite good.
How did it play out?
How did it play out against Vivi?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going extremely wide. You've got infinite trump blockers if they get, you know, the aggro Marauder draw. The one main deck Lantern that's tutorable is just super bad for them, because with Ouroborod and Gearhulk, you're able to match up with their creatures, you know, and their fair plan. And then, like, one of the reasons I ended up just going all the way up to 4 Leviathans and testing that was that it was just absolutely devastating for them.
Out of gas, right?
Get rid of that like
Isn't it
that.
a little bit like the green deck where they can just be kind of out of gas? Like if you make them reset their creatures, you'd think that they would just do it all over again, but they don't have the card drawing. Is that correct, Dan?
Yes, it's absolutely correct. Because the VV deck rarely like goes off and draws like 20 cards or anything. You know, they'll do some winter hold storying, but typically like at the end of it, they've got some huge guys and they kill you with them, right?
Right.
With this deck, they can't just kill you with the huge guys because you've got, like, you don't run out of gas either. And I think that's really one of the, you know, and I think while I was offline for a moment, you all were speaking to the fact that Gearhulk is an engine that does not stop. Like, you get so much material and utility just by Mockingbird plus a utility card. Mockingbird plus a utility card.
I also like the 1-drop artifact with Ward that's a banishing light that Gearhulk also grabs. I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but in going against Gearhulk, when the fact that they're bringing in, like, they'll sacrifice a token, play that play that artifact, and it's got Ward 2 now on it. So now they gotta use a resource. There you go, Dusk Rose Reliquary.
Yeah,
is another one.
And it's a good point, Gary. Do pay attention to that ward on this card because they're gonna soak a whole turn dealing with it, and you might just cast another freaking Gearhulk, and they're
right.
Right.
They have to pay 4 mana for a get lost to get rid of it. You know?
Right. Yeah, like Gearhulk being, you know, like people who played during the days where Muldrifter was really popular. Sometimes they just playing a couple Muldrifters and just getting in there, right? Gearhulk is a much more powerful version of that, in that, like, he's a threat to end the game, and he's a great blocker.
First strike.
Yeah.
Death touch ain't touching them.
Trample is really nice.
Yeah, so that relic
Trample, of course, is really nice with your roids. He's on roids. The Arbroid is on roids. He puts everyone
He takes
on roids.
2 pre-workouts in the morning.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, like what are they gonna do? They have to spend 2 or more mana to kill it. If they're bouncing it, that's hilarious. Like what's the utility against Gearhogan? There just really isn't a lot. So against VV.
And look, following David rules, one of David's big rules of deck construction is look for things with lots of little colors in the mana cost.
Mm-hmm.
Like elemental augury, right?
Cruel
Red,
tomato.
blue, black.
The weirdest card to ever make it into the keeper, but so good.
Yeah, but it would just
awesome.
and that's how you knew the difference between people that really understood and didn't. The augury. But anyways,
I remember
Gearhogan really follows this rule because it's got a lot of this colored mana. It looks like, oh, that's hard to do. It's hard to do unless you're willing to pay the cost for it. And so much of what we're doing, Dan and I, along with Smitty, we're fanatically thinking about mana builds. We're fanatically thinking, how do we have our cake and eat it too, right? Like, how do we have enough mana that we're hitting it fast, we're hitting it hard, we're not missing any drops, but little enough that we're able to finish a full real game against a range of opponents. And now that's something, speaking of which, that Theory was able to do big time. Let me just save and exit the changes here. Let's pull this up. I've been licking my chops all week for this. Theory has been basically going back and forth between listening to David's videos and smoking people online. So tell us about the week that was. I think that this is pretty close to the last deck list we have for you, Theory. You can update us.
Yeah.
But man, congratulations, number 13 in the world this week.
Yeah.
Killer stuff.
Actually, beat the number 1 with this deck. Actually,
You reached number 1.
No, I beat the number 1. I haven't reached the number 1 yet.
You beat the number 1 with this deck.
I met the number 1. So did Brenda. I actually 2-0'd him with this. But I took a bit of a break too. By the way, like, it was getting competitive. Like you said, like, by the way, like, to reach number 13, you have to like focus like crazy. At least I did.
Yeah.
And I keep learning and stuff like that. Yeah, because it can get tough. But I mean, this deck is built around the Drunet or whatever card that just came out. I did this thing here.
Yeah, Dan was talking about going wide. This guy is the master of going wide. You can have crazy boards by turn 3 with Drunet.
My little brother's playing Theory's deck actually over behind me, and he showed me how wide the board was. I wish I would have screenshot it when there's eight Llanowar elves on the field because you put out Overroyd. Oh man, he had to take a picture of it on his own phone. Hopefully we can get there. But I mean, there you go, Theory. All about you. You know, my little brother's like, yo, this deck is insane.
Yeah.
I love it.
There you go.
What's interesting too with this deck is look how many 1-drops we have. 20 cards out of 60 are 1-drop, so almost the end of 1 out of 3 cards, which is interesting. I mean, the point of this deck is to snowball. You need to Drunet the engine. You try to snowball again with your 1-drops and then your Mockingbirds. You usually duplicate it with the Drunet again because it's any cost you want, right? So it doesn't matter what Drunet star is. You just cast your Mockingbirds to get another one. By the way, this deck's not necessarily optimized. Like, I'm pretty sure we could optimize it way more. The spin of cards.
But you really showed something by taking what we were working on last week and putting a few tweaks and just gripping it and ripping it.
Yeah.
And that I want to point out that you didn't shut down discussion by doing that. You opened it up. You added a lot of energy and a lot of focus. That led to Dan making a Crusher new deck. I made a Merfolk version of it. I made a dinosaur version of it because I thought it was so cool what you had done. So again, like being in this system is, I don't believe it's limiting your creativity to build decks kind of David's way of doing things. I think it's helping you, Theory.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it was nice to see all the decks that came out after this. I posted this, I suppose. But I mean, like I said, the spinning of cards, I'm not sure about. Like the Frenzy, it's a very fast deck too. Like, you have a haste creature that's
the one thing about Frenzy Baloth, there's nothing like him, folks, because sometimes you just You get 2 of them. And the other thing is copying the Drowner. I mean, I have never lost a game that I've
Yeah,
copied a Drowner. And
that's
very rarely
insane.
have I
Yeah.
lost a game when I copied a Baloff.
Yeah.
I think Baloff's actually ahead of the curve. You know, we're going back to the Hobbit set. I'm not sure if it's standard or not, but they're talking about like a -1 ring. Could you imagine if the 1 ring comes to standard? Like if that's actually a thing, you know what I mean? I understand it's like jokes about it, but this guy's saying damage can't be prevented. You can play a 1 ring all you want, but I'm coming in hot.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
What are some of the cards that Baloff disrupts with combat can't be prevented that are being played right now?
I think that's it. I don't think there's a fog effect in standard right now.
Yeah. But it's cool that it's kind of out there. I mean, we'll
Right.
definitely see it being played in some of these other formats as well.
So
So
that's a great point, Barry.
So here he comes. He can't be countered. And again, just the doubling with him. I mean, you must have killed a lot of people that way.
I know in Pioneer you have 9 lives with solidarity where they can't be killed, and I had to use Bone Crusher Giant to beat my opponent when they're trying to do the nut. Yeah, because Bone Crusher Giant was also a damage can't be prevented, and like I've hit so because they play a thing where it was hexproof, all their guys is hexproof. You hit your own creature with the Bone Crusher Giant because it just has to have a target. It says 2 damage to any creature, damage can't be prevented. So I've actually hit my own Monastery Swiss Spear, prowess trigger, and then kill them because of, and that's where we were talking about where you were saying like hidden lines of play. Like they don't see it, you see the line of play, and that's what's gonna make, and that's what I like about this group is like that's what makes us as better players. It's like seeing the play that other people can't, like you were saying in football. That guy that's on the side that says, "Yo, we need to do this," and you're gonna get around that guy on the left because he's got a weak ankle.
Because it is disruptive. Like I know that people are thinking, you know, this Drunith he'll hit play, and they will not realize that something like a double Drowner can happen. And I mean, Theory, have you ever lost when you cast a double Drowner against a creature deck?
Probably not. I don't recall all of my games, but probably not. In fact, I was winning against pretty much everyone with this, but some mono red, to be honest, like there's no sideboard. Like I don't have my untap. That was needed. So I don't know my untap now. I break into the top 10. Like okay, I would need to actually track who I'm winning against, who I'm not. Like start sideboarding properly. But yeah, probably not. I mean, deck just wrecks people. Just when I was doing it. I said when I was doing it because it's been 2 or 3 days, and I feel like it was ages ago. Like I had to be so.
I know how it is.
Yeah, that's interesting.
2 or 3 days can feel like forever. Now, so you're doing something very similar to what Dan's doing, and you know he was doing something very similar to you, like a lot of fast creatures, a lot of mana acceleration. What you're doing is you're kind of bringing the game to a head a couple of turns earlier than he is. You know, he's really playing a lot for the Gear Hulk and so forth. Now you have some backup. You do have a lot of card drawing. I wanted to ask you, how has the Quantum Riddler been in this deck?
It's pretty good, like because we dump our hand fairly quick, like all 1 drops and stuff like that. But the issue with it, I think, is it's easy to counter. Like you drop that, they're like they gotta remove it, and then they try to kill you. So I mean, I like it, but I'm still not sure like about the entire deck. Like still, like believe it or not, which is interesting. But
like isn't part of the thing that's so interesting is that this general structure of having, you know, like some kind of mana acceleration, our Paw Patch recruits that are just awesome. I actually somebody apparently literally complained at the Magic tournament that I didn't have the right tokens, so I went out and I got Paw Patch recruit tokens just in case I had to play. But anyways, something along the lines of Paw Patch recruits, I would say probably some mana acceleration of some sort, you know, either the Pollinator or the Elves. And then, like you said, Drunith is one of the main ways to play this. And then the Broid. And that, like, in that wireframe, there's a wild amount of play. There's a bunch of ways to get after people. Do you feel like that's true, Theory?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I was surprised to see all the decks that came out. Like I said, after that, like I didn't necessarily see that, but you came out with the Morphle deck. Dan did something. I think there was a couple more, which was pretty cool. And like I said, none of these cards, like I'm 100% sure they're best in slot. Sit like that, basically to use some other game terms. But I think there's way better combinations, potentially, like, including the 2 drops we saw earlier, like the did 3 things. I'm pretty sure that'd be good in this deck, actually.
Which do you think is going to be good?
Well, the one that we saw that you could like draw 2 cards or copy another creature. We had, don't remember the name, but we just.
Silent Hall Creeper.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I was talking about it. Yeah, I think that's it actually. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's probably good in that deck, by the way. But yeah, we have so many mana ramps like the other we just saw. So like 4 elves for the pollinators and the mockingbirds. I usually keep one landers with this deck, which I've never done before. It's interesting.
Nice.
Yeah, I was gonna add on to that with the 1-landers. It's definitely mulligan friendly, like anti-mulligan friendly.
That was actually the first time that really happened in Magic history was with Dan's deck, 5-color green, where you had 4 Llanowar and 4 Birds of Paradise and 4 Aquarian Dryads to help that along. So it's really cool for you to experience that feeling, Terry.
Yeah, and one more thing I'm gonna say is that I think the Brunette is pretty strong. I wasn't sure when I first read it, but after trying it, and I even wonder if it's played in older formats.
Yeah.
If it takes 1 and 2 drops in the older formats, where that's 1 drop, 2 drops are more powerful. I haven't checked if people are playing it yet, but I'm pretty sure it could. Because anyways, see if I have anything else to say here.
Yeah, like last night we played Pollinator with the Jackal, and I think when Jackal's on 1, right, it does copy Pollinator, if that's correct, because we did this on paper. So obviously Arena's not. So we went turn 2 Jackal, tap the first Pollinator and tap Jackal to make another Pollinator, then a token of Pollinator. So we had 3 Pollinators and 2 lands on turn 2. And sometimes you just get like 6 creatures out on turn 2.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it was today was we were stuck on 2 mana, but we had a Pollinator and a Jackal, and we tapped the Pollinator and Jackal to play Paul Patch to make a copy of Paul Patch. Then once we got the 3rd land, we cracked down an Overroid, and then it was just these Paul Patches are huge, because we copied Paul Patch.
Folks, Paul Patch, he's like the Briar Patch. What was it? Song of the South. You get deeper and deeper with this Paw Patch, and you get deeper in the Briar Patch, and you're getting more and more trouble. People they'll cast a spell and just concede. They'll be like, "Wait,
that was so much worse than I thought it was going to be for me." Trying to kill a guy.
Or the one time I got hit with that dragon that bounces 2 creatures. And so he triggered like 8 Paw Patch recruit
triggers. Yeah.
It was the
Omen Dragon.
That's funny.
Yeah, one interesting thing too that people might not know is you can copy Junette with Junette. I know it's legendary, but
Yeah.
So you can get 2 Junettes. At one point, I casted a Paw Patch with 2 Junettes with the offspring, so I got like 6 rabbits in 1 shot, and then that was just.
Right. I constantly will cast a Junette, let him do kind of some work, and then replace him with another one fresh, and then just come in and really do better with it.
And sometimes you don't even keep the most powerful; you keep the 1/1s because you have so many 1 drops. So you got to keep getting 1 drops, I guess, and then after that you drop the Robroid, and it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
All right. So here's a Merfolk version of it. I find this intriguing. You're going to really get better performance against Black with this. Black does not want to see this particular version, largely because of the Mindspring Merfolk, but they also don't want to see Deep Root Pilgrimage can get out of control for them. Remember that
Binder.
Mockingbird, folks, one of the best things to copy with Mockingbird against Black is actually a token. So check this out. If you copy a Deep Root Pilgrimage token with a Mockingbird. That Mockingbird becomes a real card, not a token card, with hexproof and flying.
Oh, no.
And then keep on producing 1/1 Merfolk tokens.
Right, correct.
Like I said, I've been playing this on paper, but I mean, obviously, Arena will coach you on the triggers and stuff. But like, it's so good. I want to like almost play this next week for Baltimore. I'm like this close. I'm this close with
see
it.
what you play in Baltimore. I'm definitely excited for it. And now you literally have a lot more. We have a whole week ahead of us. I really want to find out, is there a crossover between what Dan is doing and this deck? Because the Leviathan in the main deck would be a holy terror in this deck.
I was just looking at like the band, like lands, just to see if it's something that there's a way that you could actually move that package together. And I'm like,
yeah, and just so you know, Soulstone Sanctuary is obnoxious with Deep Root Pilgrimage because it is a merfolk, so you can just tap it and create a dude.
Yeah, it feels in this deck in particular, because it's tribal, it feels like the biggest reason to not try 3 colors.
bring on the changelings for Lorwyn.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys are super excited with that because we're about to have a lot more guys.
Is Lorwyn the next real set that comes out for standard?
Yeah. Lorwyn's going to be the next one.
You guys know that I've already spoiled it. The Shocklands are coming out in Lorwyn.
Okay.
So they took a set off. I bought the hell out of. I'll show you guys. Holy hell! You guys want it? You guys want multiversal passages? You've here. I'll show you.
Nice.
For days.
Yeah, for days.
That's great.
Maybe we've got plenty for the old stockpile now.
Yeah, I just locked in my hotel for Milwaukee because I'll be in Japan for the first RC, so I won't be there for the first RC Lorwyn post block. I think the RC's a week or 2 after release for Lorwyn.
Yeah.
And then the second month in February is the second RC, which that's the one I'm going to. And we locked in our rooms for the
Well, then we have to get you an amazing deck.
Yeah. That's why I'm like I'm ready to get into Baltimore.
We're going to be doing some brewing. We're going to be doing some brewing out here. So we've got this is a Merfolk deck. Really, Theory's deck inspired me because I realized Theory was playing with the Sirens. Now, for me, I like the Send Out Scout over the Siren on average because I just think it's 1 less mana, basically. And I know that obviously the Siren flies, but when it's 1 less mana and it's a Merfolk, then it's really, really adding up. When the tribe matters, with the Mind Spring, that matters a lot. It's very, very powerful. And then it's very, very powerful with the Deep Root Pilgrimage. And we already are set up with Gene Pollinator. Now, this is something, the last time I hit top 50 was with a Merfolk deck that Dan and I had made. I think it was the Merfolk. It was I think it was before we did the Gear Hulk version, but whatever. It was one of the ones that we did recently. And we were really abusing people with Deep Root Pilgrimage and the Elf that taps Merfolk, just like the Gene Pollinator taps Merfolk. So
he's back presenting.
What's that?
I think you stopped sharing, unless I'm missing.
Oh, I stopped sharing. Oh, thanks, Dan.
Oh.
Let me pull this back up. So this is the Pilgrimage, right?
So another deck was created, but it's still on training wheels, and that's something I want to share at the end of the show.
Okay, let's do it now.
So it's Golgari with Explore and Scry triggers, and it's using, so the card's called Parker's Luck, but it's called Duskmorn's Claim on there. So if you want to look at it really quick. And
let me find it.
My little brother used Scry triggers and Explore triggers to put cards on top of the deck.
Duskmorn's Claim. At the beginning of your end step, 2 target players each reveal the top card of the library. They each lose life equal to the value of mana. Then they put the card. Okay, so now what do you do with this?
So here's the thing. We tested it with the rooms and the adventure. So the Black Virtue, when we revealed Black Virtue on top of the deck, it deals 7 damage to our opponent. Or no, 9 damage.
Right,
9
that's
damage.
the right amount.
Yeah, and then the demon,
the enchantment is a 7 cost.
It adds both, and then the demon room, Unholy Annex does 8. So like we were playing this last night, and I it's like I said, it's still got training wheels on it, but with Explorer triggers and Scry 1 triggers and putting stuff on top, leaving stuff on top of the deck, it was hilarious because our opponent, we played the Demon Bat, so the 9 damage did 18. We one shot people
Oh wow, that's fun.
out of the blue. He's only. Are you still in gold? Are you in gold or platinum now?
I'm getting ready to go into platinum.
Okay, so
Nice.
he one shots 18 damage with the bat, and it was off the top of the deck because turn 3 the Parker's Life, the Duskborn Claim, turn 4 bat, instep, reveal top card, virtue, take like 16. You know,
That's super fun.
yeah. So we, a buddy of mine plays a deck and popper. I played on Monday, and he calls it the casino because it's Cascade. So he calls it so. So this is like mono black casino. So again, training wheels. I just wanted to bring it up. I thought it was cool.
I love it. That's a lot of fun.
You know, something else that originally came from off theory to where you had the merfolk and we're like, yo, explore triggers, Golgari, and then we're like, yo, this thing looks insane. And then we started testing it, and then those spells from Dragonstorm that it's like 2 colorless generic and then 1 like hybrid mana, it counts as 6 mana. So the Rashasa's Charm deals 6 damage. So we were talking about keeping the deck low. The only thing we worry about is obviously facing Reanimator. You know, because if they reveal a Yardroth, we're taking 9. So a lot of our triggers is life gain. It's all about the life gain.
Nice, awesome.
But I appreciate it though by putting that card up though. But it's something like you said, we're brewing decks off of decks.
Yeah, we definitely are. Okay, awesome show today. Lawrence, you and I kind of went back and forth on David's last video. I'm curious how his most recent video shed light. I'm sure better than what I said to you.
Not necessarily better, but potentially that as well. It was more like it was building off of our talk last Wednesday. And yeah, I'm just seeing how there was a way that I was understanding how like reality, like we were using substitutions for reality, but I wasn't applying that to like my thinking. So like
that
which
really
is like another layer, which is like it compounds things to a ridiculous level, which is
because this is a lot more clearer now, right?
Yeah, and it's much more fun. Like you were saying, it doesn't make things less fun. It makes it more fun because it's like, okay, now I have like this playground. Bryn talks about this a lot, where it's like
remember, God has to see you. So
Mhm.
if you ever wonder if you like should be happy versus shouldn't, the answer is you should. Like it's definitely beneficial. Of course, not at the cost of somebody else or something like that, especially for no reason and so on. But there's that kind of stuff is fairly limited in life. All right, just tremendous show today. I want to especially thank Theory. It can't be understated what a big shot in the arm it is for everybody, how exciting it is for everybody. And Theory, did this screw up your business, or is your business kicking ass right now?
Oh, it's kicking ass. I mean, the way I did it too, by the way, is obviously I was listening to Dave Mills webinars on loop, right? While I was ranking up. I hit number 13, so I was integrating that. So I was gonna have to do that anyways, in my opinion. But so no, I think it helped. I'm pretty, I'm sure.
Yeah, I love it. It's a great environment. This is a city on a hill. We're building a city on a hill right here, right in front of you. This is the seed point of that city on a hill. Final announcement. We're going to start redoing the MTG Secrets book, the beloved MTG Secrets book that David Mills and I wrote all the way back in 2003. David provided seed content for each chapter. That content will remain exactly the same, verbatim. But my part of the MTG Secrets book was to then expand upon that content. What we're going to do is we're going to start looking at the Magic Secrets book one chapter at a time, looking at the way it was written, and I'll comment. There's plenty of stuff in there. Everything in there still by far applies today, but of course I'll be able to provide contemporary examples pulled right here from this group, right here from the decks that Theory's playing, that Dan's playing, that Smitty's playing, that Bryn's playing, that Lawrence is playing, that Gary's playing, that Michael's playing, that we're all playing right here at Magic Secrets. And so that'll give it some additional fun. It'll make it really updated, really up to date, because we wrote Magic Secrets back, the beloved Magic Secrets book, back in 2003. So we will start with that as early as next week or the week after that. I have a guest coming next week, Michael Landis Spears. He'll no doubt be playing some Magic with us then, and continue. He's a gamer. It's a OMGer who's made millions of dollars through a number of different ways, and so we'll have guests abounding. This is a city on a hill. We're creating a city on a hill, a place, a shining place. And what does it makes it a city on a hill is a devotion to this idea that sometimes it's going to be about ideas. Sometimes it's going to be about figuring things out in the world of ideas, in, as David calls it, the world of scenes. I will link to the video that we highlighted today below for the replay. David gets much more into the world of scenes in there's kind of a two-parter that he did. We only talked about the first part of the two-parter today, but he talks much more about the world of scenes. There's a great comment from Megan Lee that I highlighted in an email, so you can check that out there. It's an exciting time. It's an exciting place to be. It's a place of real freedom when ideas can reign free. And you know what, folks? There's no enemy people out there. There really isn't. Not one enemy person. But there's bad ideas out there, and that bad idea doesn't make it into where some people are enemy, some human beings are enemies. There's none of them. There's no enemies that are human beings, but there's terrible ideas that need to be decoupled from every human being, like little demons that need to be decoupled and disbelieved, and in some cases mocked out of existence. Okay, and it's just those ideas. Those ideas are crippling. Okay, they're bad. They're a shame for God to see. They're a face palm. They're no good. We don't want them. And so we are going to have a city on a hill, and we're building a city on a hill. And you're right here with us. So it's a great event. Whether you're watching this live or you're really watching this as a replay, David Mills is building a city on a hill, and you're right here while we are doing it. God bless everybody. And special shout out once again to Gary when he goes through his little situation. We'll be especially praying for him. All right, God bless everybody. Great show. Dan Burdick, thanks. Let's give a special thanks to Dan Burdick for coming on tonight. Not only came on with some new science and cracked the top 500 or so. Smitty?
Thanks, it was a blast.
Okay, great. Yeah. And Smitty, did you have any final words?
No, I just think it's interesting that once we brought up Drunith with the theory deck, that the more prevalent Amongo and Beastbinder just went by the wayside, and she became kind of the focus, which I thought was pretty cool. And then, of course, I knew Dan would want to put a Hulk in it, so we'll see.
It's a great feeling. Can you talk a little bit
about it? I promise you that.
Put a Hulk on it.
If he could put a Hulk on it, he would.
Yeah, Smitty, can you talk a little bit about that? Because there is a repeating process that Smitty is going to see, that we're all going to see during the deck building process, where we're going to try previous concepts that we try to make work with the new mana builds and the new metagame. Can you talk about that?
Sure. I mean, it happened over and over again with Beseech the Mirror, which one person really discovered the power of, and it was it's just a ridiculous tool. And it's another one of those things where you look at it and you're like, there's 3 black mana. And you have to sacrifice something. This is too hard. But then you just figure out how to do it, and you end up playing it in a 4 or 5 color deck. I think we might have had 1 5 color, but definitely a few 3 and 4 color.
And just crushing people with it.
Yeah, it was great. So we talked about Drunith, Hulk, the Leviathan. Is in my notes as well. I'm very curious about Gary's claim. That seems interesting, like an old school, like, when you put Draco on top and cast Erratic Explosion, kind of crazy bullshit.
Yeah.
But I've also always loved Aclazotz, as there's just so many ways. The Demon Bat. So many ways for it to just be like, oh, boom, accidentally I win. Or not even accidentally. It's just, that
awesome.
one. Yeah, they're kind of like Shieldred. Their lesser played Big Cousin is also very good. I can't remember the name of that one, but it's another Ecclesotz. So anyways, yeah, I'll that's I had some note about Tavar maybe in the I think that was for Dan's go wide version of the deck.
I thought of Tavar as well. Let's pull him up. I did
because
think of the same thing as well when you thought of that.
many little dingers. He could be like a 5th or 6th roid guy, maybe. I'm not sure. And
Yeah.
also, like he was saying against control, he can survive pretty easily.
Do a little bit better for you.
Suddenly they're all, 6/6s or whatnot. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? But yeah, that's all I got in my notes.
Great notes. And Smitty, it always makes such a huge difference for me. It would not be the same without Smitty on. And it's made such a huge difference having Dan come on live. Theory's Big Day, top 13 in the world. What an exciting episode. We started things off with me answering Bryn's question. Go ahead, Smitty.
I just thought it was so baller how he ran it up so fast and so high. So shout out to you, sir.
Yeah, tip of the cap. No, we really appreciated that, Theory. Great job, Theory, and great job, everyone. Terrific week, Gary. Thanks for coming on as well. Great episode, and we will see you guys next week. Like I said, we'll have a guest from the UK next week, live and in the studio on the show. Michael Spears will be joining us as well. So it's going to be really cool. All right, guys, see you on the next show.